going on in the background? I can't stand.
Welcome to the Predictive PlayBook. I'm your host, John Ryan, and this is my favorite show, period. Unless I'm a guest on another show, like if I would ever get on a show with Rob and Tony as guests, the three. Well, I don't even know what we'd call ourselves, but we can definitely think about that and come up with a good term. Amigos is already taken, but anyway, welcome, my friends, to the Predictive PlayBook. I've been having trouble with that all day.
The word?
It's bad. Well, I had David Berman on today for ESPN for the PGA, and last week was the first week that he actually lost the VIG. He was 3-3, and we just lost the VIG. But the previous 8 weeks have been just unreal.
Right.
So I can live with that when I'm tailing somebody. But that's definitely a show everybody should go on. It's easy to find. It's on Sports Memo Twitter feed. I believe it's on the Wager Talk Twitter feed. It's on Sports Memo YouTube. It's on Predictive PlayBook YouTube. It's just about everywhere anything ought to be.
And you discussed
PGA. That's a Professional Golf Association.
Oh, is that what that stands for?
Because the National Basketball Association. Yeah.
The anagram that I had in mind was not that, but we'll go with that.
Well, I figured you live in Vegas. You wouldn't know anything about golf anyway. So
I'm married 27
too dry,
years
right?
and have 4 kids. That's why I have no idea what golf is. And anybody who plays golf that has been married and has 4 kids isn't home very much.
Well, you're talking about me. 4 kids, married, but they're all kind of out of the house now, except for one.
Well, so are mine, but that's my excuse. That's why I played a lot of golf, played college golf, never made it Travis Squad, but I used to play 36 holes a day when I was when I was a toddler.
Well, now you got me talking about golf before we get to our what's on tap in today's specials. I thought that would be good for the viewers to see.
Yeah.
That we have a plan here of what we're going to talk about.
Right.
We may stray a little bit, but I'll tell you what, Rob Vino doesn't play golf, but he's pretty close to me. And I played at my son's country club. He's 25. They give out really good deals when you're young. And I'll give a big shout out to Hershey Mills because I've played there several times now, but they had that course set up like a U.S. Open. And I kid you not, the greens were 13 on the stint meter. And it was mentally exhausting, but man, do I love it. When it's that tough, you can shoot 90 and walk off of there feeling good.
Right.
So I just thought I'd mention that.
Well, I don't know. 90. I would never feel good about shooting 90.
Well, actually, I felt pretty good today. Behrman, this is what I'm talking about. Behrman said that Ricky Fowler's playing so bad that he's playing like me. How am I supposed to take that? Is that a compliment or is that just like dragging me through the mud?
He's playing like you? I mean, he was pointing to you or playing?
I think he did point to me. I think he said my name.
Right.
He said Ricky Fowler is playing as bad as you, John.
Oh, well then, see, bad's subjective, right?
I took that as a compliment.
There you go.
I mean, I would love to play golf at the level
someone
of
called me fat the other day. But I saw it come out of their mouth, and it was PHAT, so I knew it was a good fat.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
So it's not on today's special, but I thought, wait, let's do the Tigers and the Red Sox here, and go over that game. I mean, that's a complete mismatch to begin with. I have a little betting system here. And this was I do these free, for those that don't know, I do these free pick videos every day, all 3 sports that are going current right now, which is NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball. I could even do one for PGA. Maybe I should do that. But anyway, on this game, I generally do not like to lay favorites like this in baseball. I'm more like a plus 150, plus 185 type of guy.
Yeah.
But I think Boston is absolutely going to destroy these guys tonight. Detroit's offense is terrible.
Clemens,
and as this,
is Clemens pitching?
It's the whole team is a mess, don't you think?
Which one?
So based on this
Detroit?
system, 65% winners, averaging a minus 155 favorite wager, making $1,820 for the $100 better the last 5 seasons.
Yeah.
And they have Nick Pivetta, who is arguably their ace right now. I mean, who saw this coming? Nick Pivetta, 3-0, 5 starts, 2.80 ERA, 1.247. You know, is able to throw on both sides of the plate, literally at random. And that's why the whip is a little bit higher. I mean, generally you want to see that 0.9 sometimes with a starter that's 3-0, but I think he's effectively wild. That the catcher may be setting up outside, and all of a sudden that pitch hits the inside corner. That's what I've watched on the video. But who am I to say that the catcher isn't setting up there intentionally to set the batter up? I mean, we don't know the answer to that.
Right. I mean, listen, I think you guys know Pivetta probably better than I do, being since he was kind of one of those guys who was hot and cold in Philly, which is that's not something that probably can't be said about every player that's played in Philly, at least by a Philly fan. Pundits might tell you, and you're trying to tell us right now, maybe that Pivetta has reinvented himself, or at least at 28, trying to be what Manny said he could be. The one thing I'm concerned with Pivetta, maybe Rob, or maybe you can comment and tell me I'm dead wrong, and that is that he comes in with I think today he comes in this game with a 2.8. Is it a 2.80 ERA? Is that what you said?
Yep.
2.80,
2.80,
almost a 9 Ks per 9 innings. That's my concern is his 6 walks per 9, and his xFIP, which is 5, which is essentially 2 runs higher than his ERA. I mean, those metrics, the control issues, that was one of the things that got him some trouble in Philly, I know. So I'd like to see that. I would say that is 233 or the BVIP that he has. I think that's what it was. Like I read about it, so I did all that research this morning. He has a career 321.
Yep.
And he's got a 69% career strand rate, and his strand rate this year is 79 or 80. So all those things have to change. All those things have to stay consistent, I think, for Pivetta to remain, as you said, the ace. I don't think it's that difficult to be the ace of the staff. I really don't. I mean, I think if Boston wins, it's going to be much like a series that they won with, what year was it, 16? That they did offensively, I thought, in my opinion. Yeah. Who won the Cy, guys, that year? That with Boston, the biggest, maybe the most surprising Cy Young in my lifetime, since I've been paying attention for 30 years, 40 years.
What season?
It was
2018.
Who won it? Who was the last Boston Red Sox to win the Cy?
Oh, the last Boston Red Sox to win a Cy.
Pedro Martinez?
No. It's I'm sorry, it escapes me the name. It's a pitcher. He's not even pitching, huh?
Josh Beckett?
No, we're talking about
no hitter in Philly.
We're talking about recently. We're talking about recently in the last 4 years, 5 years. Hold on a second. I'll come up with that. I just, for some reason, it escaped me. Let me just look here.
David Price, Chris Sale.
No, you're gonna be. Listen, you guys are. It's escaped you, either that or I've been dreaming. Rick Porcello. How did that happen?
Oh,
come on,
Rick Porcello.
How did that happen?
Rick
Porcello had a magical year, but his surface numbers, his metrics weren't anything Cy Young worthy. That's just me.
And what year was that?
He had 20 wins, I think.
16. Like I said, originally I asked you, it was 16.
21 wins.
Yeah, listen, size of the one thing we should thank DeGrom for is that no longer is like 20 wins a prerequisite for a Cy, because of course he pitches for the Mets and has a Mets offense behind him, and all the Mets fans out there are smiling right now. We don't have. I think that's kind of a something that's just if you win 20, that's good, right? But you don't have to win 20. I think I think that I just, again, Porcello had one of those years where everything went right for him. But if you looked at his strand rate, you looked at his BAPIP, if you looked at those metrics, those underlying peripherals, you would say, how does this guy win the Cy?
Yeah, I'm looking him up here. He came from the Seton Hall Preparatory School in West Orange, New Jersey.
So what you're
First
saying is
round, 27th pick of the 2007 MLB June Amateur Draft
yes,
by the Tigers.
yes, yes, sir. Listen,
He could probably
Porcello was
help
a
them
serviceable. He was a serviceable pitcher, but when you and I and Rob, when we think Cy, we certainly. Listen. How long did it take? You guys couldn't even come up with it. I'm asking who's the last.
Yeah, I would have
who's the
never
last
thought of
talker,
that.
right?
Well, I named the obvious names, but
That's,
Right.
Yeah, that's one of those out of sight, out of mind. Rick Porcello.
I agree.
Where is he?
make a
this
lot of
year,
money
though?
in the bar doing that.
I probably it's horse track right now somewhere.
Yeah.
Or maybe.
Yeah,
you
I
know.
mean, I haven't seen his name all year long. So, yeah, that just goes to show you. Once we get into a season, you forget a lot of stuff. I mean,
Of course.
ask me
Oh.
stuff about the NFL that was just played. Now I won't remember.
I can pretty much. I can tell you who won most Super Bowls, even by number, but I sure as hell can't tell you who finished second, who they beat. And that's that. Yeah, as you never remember who finishes second. You just don't. It's hard enough, especially if you got a long list of firsts. You have to remember. So,
Unless you're a New England Patriots fan and you happen to, no, unless you are an
Unless you're
Atlanta
a
Falcons
loser.
fan who played the Patriots in a
Right.
Super Bowl, then you
if
probably
you're
remember.
a fan, yeah, true, very true. But
That
just
was
for those
nasty.
who
I don't know why I
listening,
brought that up.
Rick Porcello, if you're a Boston fan, listen. You don't have to tell a Boston fan. Boston fan would be the first to say, "I can't believe he won the side either."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because he had like 21 wins or something crazy that year.
And he played for the 2016. It was the 2016 Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, but they didn't win it. 2016, I think, is the Cubs beating the Indians.
He was
2018,
22 and 4.
What was
22 and 4. Jesus.
22 and 4.
Right. I'm trying to look up.
3.15, 33 starts, 3 complete games, 223 innings.
Well, we know that
Only
we know Boston
189
won
strikeouts.
at least 22 games that year.
He hit 13 batters.
The Red Sox were 93 and 69
Pretty
in
damn
2016. Finished 4 games in front of the Jays, 4 games in front of the Orioles, 9 in front of the Yankees, and 25 in front of the Rays. They didn't win the World Series, but
Right.
one of the reasons he won is that they won the AL East.
Yeah.
You know.
No, 22 and 4 will get you there too.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, it's not Denny McClain like
Right.
now, but
31
Yeah.
and 6.
yeah.
But
He
Denny
didn't walk
McClain
anybody either.
spent
That
a
was
lot
during-
of time in prison. Denny McClain.
Yeah, but not for winning 32 game or 31. Although that was a time in my life, and Rob, like I said, those are years that were pretty formidable for me as far as baseball goes. That's what my whole summers were predicated. They were arms stretched wide and grabbing on for dear life. Kind of that's what I did with baseball. 68 wasn't it 68? Did that?
1968.
I was a big. That was the year the A's left Kansas City. That's the years Charlie Finley, basically said, "I'm no longer going to be the Yankees farm club." Yeah, all this kind of crap. That he was a showman, and he was what Jerry Jones is, to the NFL, and what George Steinbrenner was.
Right.
Finley was, and or Bill Veeck for that matter.
Bill Veeck.
68 was a pretty term. It was civil rights. It was Vietnam War. It was crazy. Just absolutely crazy time. If we think politically, we're in a crazy time now. 68 was pretty crazy.
Yeah, just too little to know it. I mean, for those who ever hear people tell stories about how they used to bring transistor radios to school, 68 would be the first year. Tone, I'm in second grade in 1968, and the Tigers played the Cardinals in that World Series. And it wasn't Denny McClain, right? It was Mickey Lolich,
right,
in that World Series who won 3 games for the Tigers. But yeah, that was the first time I can remember bringing a little transistor radio into school because World Series games were played during the day.
Yeah, well, and that brings up this, and that is, I think that all of you that know me know that I didn't grow up a choir boy. I didn't, I didn't do all the things that probably good boys should probably do. But first time I ever skipped school, though, I skipped school the first time for a damn good reason. It was junior high, and it was because that you just mentioned World Series were played during the day, and we were watching the Big Red Machine in the early '70s, and we skipped school to watch Cincinnati play baseball. Yeah, those were some great. Those were some fantastic teams in the early '70s. I mean, most people that don't even know baseball, if we mention some of the names from that Reds team, they would know.
Yeah.
Well, in the chat room here, we can transition to a game that's not even on the menu, but we could make it an appetizer.
I like
the Mavs and the Heat.
Yeah, I looked at that game. I'm sure Rob did too, but
well, I can help us out, I think.
Yeah, I can give you my opinion on it, but it's not worth much.
Don't tell me it's the angle of the day. There it is.
No, it actually is not.
I think we got set up for this. We got set up, Rob.
But I was looking at this earlier. My stuff says the Heat.
Yeah, mine too.
-3.
My head says the Heat.
Well, they're playing well right now. That's for sure.
You just never know when that's going to turn on. I've learned that about the Heat this year. As soon as they started playing well and I jumped on their back, they decided to buck me off.
Fairly healthy now. Pretty healthy right now. And I like the fact that the other night, Goran Dragic on back-to-back was actually listed as questionable on the injury report, and then he played in their most recent game. I've had luck the last couple of games, guys, playing Miami Heat over the total. Somewhat due to the opponents, somewhat due to them being healthy again and scoring points the way they did last year.
Shooting better from the three-point line.
Shooting better. And Tyler Hero hasn't been involved. He's out.
He's out again
I
tonight.
think, on the injured list. Yeah.
Yeah.
For Dallas, you got questions. Kristaps, no go.
Yep.
But Tim Hardaway Jr. comes back. That was a horrible loss the other night. Losing to Sacramento when you're Dallas. And Luka can complain all he wants. And LeBron James can complain all they want about, whoever set up this playoff needs to be fired. And Mark Cuban could, but get yourself out of 7th place. Jesus, you can't lose to the Sacramento Kings without De'Aaron Fox and Harrison Barnes, and you're going to lose that game. So it's important to Dallas. It's important to Miami. They're in a dogfight where they are in the East. So I don't know that playoff standings matter in this one because it's just as important to both. Generally speaking, road underdog is a nice position for Dallas to play Dallas. But I don't know. The way Miami's going right now, that game, to be honest with you, I didn't play it either way, guys. I still look at over. I think that thing is priced a little bit too low at 215, 215 and a half. I'll say this again. Maybe I didn't say it on this show. If I did, I'm repeating myself. But about 6 games ago, Rick Carlisle made the decision that his team needed to play with more pace. And on that night, they went out and they won a game 127-117. I think it was against Detroit. And since then, it's been a little sporadic, but you can see that they're trying to be a little bit quicker than they were. I mean, their overall season statistics will show you their tempo is really, really slow. But I'm only talking about the last, 4 or 5 games, 6 games where they've gotten a little bit quicker. And tonight, the way Miami's been playing, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing gets over the total, John. So for me, if I had to play it, and I still might, I think I would go over this number. I don't think, you're asking for 108 aside. I don't know that that's really that unreasonable with these two teams.
I like the over here.
Yeah. I would say this, is their pace better? I haven't looked this up or even paid much attention, but without Maxey, do they play faster?
You know what, Tone? I think the adjustment is that Carlisle, I think like a bunch of us who watch Dallas Maverick basketball, got a little bit, I'm not going to say upset or anything, but watching Luka come down the floor and watching 4 guys drop across underneath the basket and play that 1-4 set and let Luka dribble it down to 8 seconds and go try and make a play one-on-one, whether it be, points-wise or assist-wise. They needed to get more people involved. And remember last year they were the #1 offensive efficiency rating team in the NBA, and then they turned into this mess this year. And I think he's trying to get back to that a little bit. So I don't know that it's player dependent. And Maxi's got a question mark next to his name anyway tonight, right?
I think he's out. Well,
you're
right. He's questionable. He is questionable. I don't think he's out for. I don't think he's been announced out. Although I believe he's out. But yeah, no. I what you say about last year's pace to this year's pace, offensive numbers to this year's. I've said this early on. I said this before the season started. I thought that was a mistake. That their offseason was that they tried to become a little more defensive because of last year's defense. I think a lot of last year's defense, those numbers have a lot to do with how good they were offensively. Though I think we both know that I think some of that gets skewed. But Curry, letting Curry go is that's not. I don't think Dallas has a quality bench, guys. Rob, I think they may have one of the worst benches, the worst second rotations in basketball for a team that right now is currently playoff worthy, or at least qualified for the playoffs.
Yeah, and you know what? To your point, that's why they don't start Tim Hardaway Jr. Right. Because if they start him, they have nobody coming off the bench.
That's correct.
In essence,
right.
So he has to come off the bench. Now he'll come back tonight. He didn't play against Sacramento, so if Cleaver sits, Hardaway is back, so that will help Luke out a little bit. But this Porzingis stuff, that's another. Like, you talk about that trade tone. Curry in return for Josh Richardson, who they thought would give them enough 3-point offense along with better defense, but the guy just hasn't shot the basketball. Period. I mean, the difference between him and Seth Curry is night and day.
Yeah. I agree. It has been a even before the trade. I don't know. It's something about Curry, something about Seth. He's never going to be who his brother is defensively or offensively, but there's something about what he brings to the floor when he comes off the bench, when he did for Dallas, and he was pretty good last year in that role.
Yeah. So for the Dallas matchup, are we supporting Dallas? It sounds like we're going with the Heat.
Well, I think the Heat would be my first thought, and
then the over.
Yeah, as long as the Heat don't pull one of those 0 for 12s and 0 for 13s from 3-point line. One of those is nice.
Like, don't you wish you could bet that way, Tony? Go to the window and say, I like to bet the over, but only if they hit more than 50% of their 3-pointers.
And I know I'm being cynical to a degree, but that's what's Miami has been. That there's been a couple times I've cashed them, they've made me smile, but for the most part, they haven't made me smile this year. It reminds me of Colorado. It reminds me of this. Listen, Colorado was going to Washington, and I know I'm jumping leagues and levels, etc. But it reminds me so much. I was fading Washington and the Huskies from game one last college football basketball season, and I cashed on them forever. It seemed like Colorado went to Washington, was laying in a small number or a touchdown. I think 6-7 points. They were the best free throw shooting team in college basketball, and one of the best. And that is if you want to know how good a shooting team is, and if they seem to be hot and cold shooting wise, look at their free throw shooting percentage, and it's typically a very good indicator of what kind of shooting team.
Earl Roberts.
There you go. Well, Colorado went 1 for 19 from the 3-point line on that game in Washington, lost outright to a bad Washington team. But every time then I had the 0 for 13 with the Heat one night too. So those things stick with you, I could win with a team went 13 for 13 from the 3-point line. I wouldn't remember it near as much as the 1 for 19 that Colorado did.
And real quick to Tony's point, John, the other night, maybe this would help support an over. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. They score 121 points against Charlotte. Charlotte plays with extreme pace at this point in time. It's a small team. Head coach James Borrego says he likes small ball. We'll get into Charlotte. I'm looking at the screen now. Somebody wants to know about it. But for right now, let me just say that Miami scores 121 the other night against Charlotte. And they shoot 11 for 38 from 3, 289. And the guys who were shooting it last year, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero. These guys, Duncan Robinson's been hit or miss all year long. 3 of 10 the other night. Kendrick Nunn, 3 of 8. Goran, 1 of 6. I'm a guy who plays NBA always to come back to the norm. So for me, when I see something like that, I expect Miami to shoot better from 3 this game tonight. Dallas not necessarily great at the 3-point arc. And the other thing, defending the 3-point arc, the other thing here, real quick, is it's a nice matchup for one of Tony's favorites, down low, Bam Adebayo, against a very soft Dallas interior.
Yes.
Should be pretty good here as far as points are concerned. So we'll see. I think would be my priority here, John, to play it over. And as far as side, I could probably make a good case for either side here. So I would lay off.
Yeah, I like the over too. Thinking of the in-game betting, you probably can pick up 207.5 at some point during the first half. And as you guys know, I don't do anything in the second half because there's really not enough time for the play to evolve. You're betting half a game. So if you want to do that, then bet the first half and bet the second half. But you understand my point. It's better to do in-game. You do it early and you have time.
And if that's the way you see the game playing out, absolutely. But you're probably not going to get if Miami comes out and shoots 4 for 4 from the 3-point line and scores 15 to 12 at the first time out, then you're not going to get a 207. But then I understand. I do that all the time, John. I release plays. I don't play pre-flop. I wait for I'll wait for some time to come in because this just simply because of my arrogance and my ego that tells me I know how this game's going to play out and I can get a better number.
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily that, Tony. It's just that you can feel the game. I mean, you can watch it for a minute or two, and then you see how things are going.
Yeah, but I already know how the game's going to play out. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I already know how it's going to play out.
I'll give you my email then after the show.
Just to add, guys, just to add to the point here that I was talking about a second ago, where I expect things to come back to the norm. And I talked about how miserable Miami shot from 3 the other night, so I would look for them to shoot it better from 3 tonight. Dallas's last game against Sacramento, the one that they lost, 6 for 35 from 3, 17%. A game where they scored 99 points. So again, that's just my style of handicapping. I would expect them to be better on the offensive end than 99 points tonight. And when you're looking at 216 in today's NBA, I mean, 216, sometimes at the end of 3, these teams have 185. And you're looking at, I need a 30
last night,
fourth quarter to win.
Last night, listen, I played Washington last night. Right. They didn't play a lick of defense, not a lick of defense, but 84, something like that in the first half.
So
that team last night had 50 assists.
Yeah.
63 made
They were playing
baskets.
football. 63. They were playing football. There was a number of 3/4 length passes that were on target for dunks and layups. Was incredible.
Didn't I say the over yesterday, Tony?
I think you might have.
At the Phillies game, but
I think you might have said. I think you said that
they
were going to go over the total in the first half, and they almost did.
I don't remember saying that.
Well, I'm just throwing it to make the story better.
Be 1,000 points at least.
We checked numbers, John, on the NBA tip-off show yesterday. Steve Merrill was on, and he always goes back to what you're always reminding us of: 215 totals, play them under. They've been great, and 235, play them over. And Ski ran a real quick search on games from 244 and up because yesterday's total was like 246. And from 244 and above, they were only 1 and 2. Of course, there's only a very small set. But 244 is no longer a line in the sand when teams are going to go 154 to 141, 295. Jeez. It's like an all-star game, right? That would be an all-star game final score.
That's a little short of an all-star game. Pretty damn close.
Mm.
Yeah, you're right. Pretty damn close.
I had also, to be fair and transparent, as we like to say, I did say that in game we were looking at 267.5, right? For the in game. So I actually went under at 282 which is the highest I have ever done. So I'm kind of proud of that losing. So the middle didn't quite work.
Yeah, well,
new precedents, John. New precedents.
Yeah.
282 under can't win.
amazing.
Yeah. 282 in the highest NCAA tournament games, 193.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of puts it into perspective.
Yeah.
No
That was an
overtime last
overtime
night.
game with Purdue.
This Indiana team is just giving up play. They again, we've talked about this on the show.
Yep.
They just sat. They don't play any defense, and even if they get back in transition, they just all get into the lane and say, "Okay, you shoot it so we can rebound and start running." That's what they do.
It's absolutely it. They made that choice about 3.5 weeks ago. We're just going to run.
Yeah.
And when you have an 8-man rotation, day in and day. Of course, Sabonis had a triple-double in the first half against OKC. 3 nights ago, they scored 152 that.
Westbrook was 2 points short of a triple-double in the first half yesterday.
Yeah. He's amazing.
Yeah.
But it was 2020 with rebounds and assists, right? That's what you're talking about, right? Because there's only been 3 games in the history of the NBA that's done that.
Yeah. Well, he surpassed Chamberlain yesterday and some stuff. He's just a handful from Oscar Robertson's triple doubles, So is it fair? Is it fair for guys like us who watch basketball and we've seen Westbrook on a nightly basis during his career, and probably not fair to say something bothers me about putting Westbrook in the same folder as Oscar Robertson.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I definitely can. But in terms of his history, there's only been 3 triple doubles with 20 or more assists and 20 or more rebounds.
Right.
And it's been done by 2 guys. Westbrook has 2, and some guy named Wilt the Stilt.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine Wilt the Stilt dishing out 20 dimes.
Well, Wilt did anything he wanted to do. Wilt would say before the season started, "I'm going to lead the league in assists," and he did. I'm going to lead the league in scoring. And he just did whatever he wanted to do. And the game is different today.
Right.
Yep.
Guys, it's different than it was when Oscar Robertson played, and hell, it's different than it was 3-4 years ago, yet alone 40 or 50. And Wilt, is from my neck of the woods, so he left college early, to go, not to play for Philly, play for the Globetrotters.
Yeah.
Yeah, to get paid by the Globetrotters.
Well, because Rob was at the Phillies game last night, and I'm sure that was quite a treat to be at the game, and then to be at the game to see your friend throughout the first pitch. That's always very, very cool.
Yeah.
So we know that the Phillies defense has been kind of like the Indiana Pacers defense of late, but in a different way. They seem to be not paying attention when they have the ball in their glove or hand. And we know about the Mets scoring that Little League run. So I figured it was the perfect opportunity to run the Sentiment app that I built using Python. And what you're going to see is 2,200 tweets that have been identified by the app for each team and stop words. So it goes into the betting community with that hashtag. And stop words could be anything from just negative words to positive words, and based on how it's written in the sentence. With me?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, for example, this is the Milwaukee Brewers pie chart. So out of 2,200 tweets or words that were identified in 2,200 tweets, it said that 53%, 52.5% were neutral returns. And the tweet didn't say anything bad about the Brewers, didn't say anything good about them. 37.2% was positive, and then negative was 10.4%. Tweets along the lines that they should fire a hitting coach or fire a pitching coach or the whole staff or something like that. So then we come to the Phillies. Let's see here, and I do a word cloud then. So you can see, the bigger the word, and this is the Phillies one because you can see ring the bell is the hashtag. Mm-hmm. So the more it picks up words, the bigger they are. So the bigger the word is in your eyes right now, that's the most common. The Milwaukee word cloud looks like this.
This is my
This is my crew is actually their official hashtag.
Lorenzo Cain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, he hit a ball last night, and John, you've been in Citizens Bank Ballpark. He hit a home run in the first inning. You know that center field's the deepest part of that park, and he hit it to
408.
Slight left center field, but pretty much he hit that thing not over the first row of the fans, second row, not over the upper deck, onto the concourse that is Ashburn Alley, where all those little food stands are. Oh my goodness. What a shot at the
bomb.
That was his first at bat of the
yeah. That has to be 450 or more.
Yeah, and it's so funny. I was with, as I told you guys, friends, and the guy who threw out the first pitch brought his son and his friend. They're like 15, 16-year-old kids, but they follow sports the way we would have followed sports as kids. You know what I mean? They know everybody, everything that's going on about their home team. And they started early with, "Damn you, Lorenzo Cain." And then Lorenzo Cain made a great catch in center field. "Damn you, Lorenzo Cain." It was like he was their arch enemy all night long. But that home run he hit was amazing. And then it was followed by a JT Realmuto one, which didn't go as far. But the great thing about that, again, guys, there's a high school kid in the upper deck in left field where that ball was hit that put up his right hand and caught the ball. Yeah. And I'm like, holy, grown men don't want to catch that ball. And that kid caught that. But of course, not just Citizens Bank, but any stadium across the country, if a hometown person catches a ball like that, you're going to get an ovation. And there were, I think it was 10,600 there last night. Pretty loud.
It looked like a nice crowd.
So yeah, it was good. It was really good. Skybox helped.
I saw that catch, by the way. He was sitting with his girlfriend or his wife.
Did you see it?
Yeah, if that's the one, because he reached up it was good. The announcer said it was going 97 miles an hour.
He had a light blue Phillies jersey on, one of the throwbacks.
And he had ice cream cup, right?
Pretty funny.
I saw that. I actually saw that.
So,
yeah, that was a ride.
It was a good night, and it rained on and off all night long. But the skybox helps. When it's raining, you're not getting wet, so can't beat it, right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
So enough about my night at the Phillies, but
I wanted to hear about it anyway.
To cap it off real quick, guys, our friend, because I went with 3 other guys, he threw the first pitch, and it was a good first pitch. I mean, it was right to the Fanatic catches the ball. Of course, they don't put a catcher out there. They put the Fanatic on his 3-wheeler out there, but right to home plate. I asked him when he came back up to the box, I said, do they allow you to throw from the mound, or do they require you to throw from flat ground? Because he threw from flat ground, and he said they prefer. They actually told me, please throw from flat ground. I guess they don't want people, breaking their ankles or whatever coming downhill on them.
Or messing up the mound.
Or messing up the mound.
Yeah, right. One throw, no cleats.
Mm-hmm. Lawsuits.
Yeah, but still, you're out there in the field.
20 minutes.
The field's awesome.
Nothing bothers me more than a pitcher that has to reconstruct the mound before the inning. I mean, they're out there beating on it with their own cleats, and reshaping this and landing spot and that. And yeah. And I understand. Listen, I understand this day and age, technically, a landing spot's pretty important. So
and they had to kind of last night because it got wet.
Yeah.
And you saw, the crew come out and throw the dry mix on there and fix it up and whatnot, but clean out the cleats. They get a new spike cleaner out there every half inning for these guys. So they're taken care of pretty well. But when you're up to bat, we saw it the other day. A pitcher with a wet baseball that can throw 95 is a little bit of a danger signal to the hitter in the box.
Yeah. If he's not wild in the zone.
I wouldn't be standing there. And not many people know, you guys probably do, but the area right in front of the rubber, the pitcher's rubber, is in a major league park is very hard. So when those guys, to Tony's point, are kicking around and trying to move it, you can't. I mean, you might be able to get a little edge in there, and it's.
I'm talking about mostly if you're right hand, for instance, where your left foot lands. When you stride, that's the part where they really get fussy about. Very fussy, because if it doesn't fit their stride, then they're either many of them hold the ball too long, and they're low, and they're overthrowing, not overthrowing necessarily, but holding on to the ball longer simply from muscle memory of when the foot touches, when the left foot,
Right.
It's just weird. They're weird about it, and I understand. I really do.
Yeah.
Those mechanics are key, right? One little
Yeah.
thing out of whack, and it's all over for these guys.
Yes, it
It
is.
is.
Yep.
So here's the pie chart for the Phillies. Well, here we have 336 positive, 71 negative, 704 neutral. So remember this pie chart? This was Milwaukee.
52.
All right. So now we go to this one. The percentage of negative to positive is in favor of the Phillies, combined with the neutral being much, much bigger. And without getting into the formula of using these numbers to calculate the final result, it's a play on the Phillies.
Yeah.
So this little tool went 11-6, 11-5 in the NFL. In the NBA, I didn't have enough time to actually run it officially. So I thought I would start it tonight, and each day I'll pick a game, and I'll try to identify a game that has negative sentiment. Like the reason I picked this game was because the Phillies, clearly were not fan favorites with that miscue. And I figured that they would be throwing them under the bus. But under Twitter, with those 1,111 tweets that are identified for each team, it says the opposite as it pertains to the betting community. So the betting community is correctly on Philadelphia. So it's not a contrary indicator.
Mm-hmm.
Like we would look at, betting flows and stuff like that. So, I figured it would be a good little introduction. We'll see how it goes over time. But, visuals always tell the word. You can have the fanciest formulas in God's green earth. But when you see a pie chart like that, you can look at it and go, oh, yeah, okay, good. So why don't we go back to the menu?
Right.
And just we did the Brewers Phillies just now. The last one on the board, I guess, is the White Sox and Cincinnati. But we didn't talk about Toronto or the LA. So let's pick one of those two as our final game, I guess.
NBA.
What do
you
like?
want to do NBA, or do you want to do?
No, you said LA and Toronto, and they play each other tonight, so I wasn't sure what you were.
Right, we didn't cover that game yet on the menu. See the.
Okay. Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Well, Toronto. Listen, that's a pretty simple game for me. I don't know about Rob or you, John, but the Clippers haven't been real good as of late. I know injuries play a big part in that. But tonight they're supposed to be whole, save Patrick Beverly. I think we're supposed to see Leonard. We're supposed to see George playing in tandem. I think they're still going to be. I mean, the Clippers still have a few. They're going to be short a few players. Patrick Beverly, probably most importantly. But this isn't so much. Listen, Toronto's playing loose and playing well. I mean, over the last couple of weeks, I told you on the show. Remember, I said I watched them for the first time since I thought they would tank. I thought they would tank after the trade deadline. I believe they would tank, and not worry about trying to be part of the play-in group. But what I've seen of them. I've been impressed. They're loose. They're playing well. They're playing smart. They have a lot of energy, and it's the Clippers that are sitting at number 4. They're 4th in the West, and they have a 6.5 game lead over the 5, 6, and 7, which I think is Dallas, Lakers, Portland. Am I not correct with that? So, what are the Clippers playing for tonight? I'll take Toronto in 10 points. Wrong or am I wrong? Well, you agree or disagree?
No, you're not. You're not wrong, Tone. Who am I to say you're wrong? Game's not
Well,
over.
you're so you just.
I
would
just
say get in
looking-
line.
I was looking real quick just to see because, they brought Kawhi back the other night.
Yep.
To play Denver.
Yep.
It was somewhat meaningful, it kind of a king of the hill type of thing. Who's going to get the number 3 seed?
Right.
They were tied at the time, and Denver beat them wire to wire. LA had a pretty good first quarter, but after that, Denver put on a spurt to start the second, and that was the end of that game. I mean, LA never really made a run at them, and I just wonder if this wouldn't be some sort of bounce back for them at home off I don't want to call it an embarrassing home loss, but I think it was one, to bring Kawhi back for that game. after he had said, they could have very well sat him again. As you
Yeah.
mentioned, Tone, if you take them in Denver, who are now tied 4 games out each.
Yeah.
But you look at the separation, which you pointed out between LA and what's behind them.
Yep.
There's nobody's going to catch them. If they have anything in their heads, or if they have any incentive, it's to try and climb back ahead of Denver. I don't know if these teams. Here's what I worry about. I don't know if any of these teams are consciously trying to avoid the Lakers. And the Lakers right now sit at 7, and you can't play these things looking at where a team sits today, because these standings are going to get all jumbled every single time they play, right?
Yeah.
But if LA sits at 7, I think the playoffs go 2, 3, 6, and 7. That's one bracket. 1, 8, 4, and 5 are the other bracket. And if they're trying to avoid the Lakers, thinking that they're going to have Davis, they're going to have James, they're going to have everybody in the playoffs, we want to stay out of their bracket until the conference final. Yeah, I can somewhat see that, but I don't think that the Clippers or Denver are teams that want to avoid the Lakers. They don't really care.
I don't think the Clippers care.
Right.
I don't. As long as they're one of the top 4 seeds, and they are, and they will be, that their interest is keeping Kawhi, George, and the rest of their group that aren't going to play tonight, and that group is longer than. Listen, let me just read it to you. You probably already know, but I'll read it to you anyway. And that's let me see here. We got
Ibaka, right? He won't.
Yeah,
play.
Ibaka. We know Ibaka, right? With Ibaka, but Patrick Beverly, Ibaka, Coffee. Really, that's all I'm seeing here. There's some others that. Let's put it this way: this is not neither team, the Clippers or the Lakers. Again, neither team hit me upside my head and say, this is that team this year. The Lakers, I still, which pisses people off there around here, the Lakers fans and Ski, that I thought it was the least in the last 2 decades that Lakers team might. I don't know that they could beat any of the other 19 in the last 2, if in a 7-game series. I thought that's as well as they played, and what I've seen. Listen, when LeBron was out for those 20 games, I particularly played against the Lakers in certain situations when they played what I consider playoff quality or playoff worthy squads. I still, even without LeBron, even without Davis, what this team does, how hard they play defensively, they make every possession absolutely difficult. Every possession. And that's worth something, and I think that's how they won last year. I think that's one of the biggest reason why they won, because they're not that great a 3-point shooting team. LeBron's not a good 3-point shooter. I don't think he's capable, but he's not the best or even one of the best in the league. And he settles for 3-pointers. He's one of those guys that dribbles down the court, holds the ball for, does a Harden move and waits to set himself up for the 3-point shot, which to all you LA fans and LeBron fans, King fans, the King James. I'll take Harden over LeBron playing that style of basketball any day of the week.
To add to the Toronto side here, guys, pretty healthy as well.
Yeah.
One of the few times that they'll have both starting guards available. Fred VanVleet will come. I mean, he and Lowry have kind of been staggering. We'll play VanVleet without Lowry. Lowry will rest, or VanVleet will rest. But they're both going to be there tonight. OG Anunoby, no go. Boucher's been out for a little bit now, a few games. But for the most part, at least the big 3 are there: Siakam, VanVleet, and Lowry.
Lowry was good. Did you watch? I don't know if you saw any.
Last game.
Huh?
40? The game he had 40?
He was unconscious.
They're capable. Plus 10 points here.
That's my thing.
It's
my free play on the wage talk. Is Toronto, and it was 9.5 to 10, and I just said let's take 9. If you can get 9.5, then take 9.5. 10's a better number, obviously, but I'm comfortable with 9.5. I'm comfortable with taking that many points in this situation.
They're not showing the quit, right? Nick Nurse could very easily bench all these guys
and
go to the backups.
But they're
not doing it.
They're not doing it. And I never thought Lowry would do that anyway, but Nurse he controls what happens and what doesn't happen on the court. For the most part, I mean, I guess Lowry could refuse to come off the floor one time, and I don't think Nick would probably, call the police, the basketball police, or anything like that.
He's just not that guy.
No,
Lowry.
No.
They played well. I mean, they played the Lakers the other night. They beat the Lakers shorthanded.
Yeah.
Very shorthanded. They beat the Lakers because that, if I'm remembering it right, about an hour before tip, that game got steamed again because Toronto announced XYZ aren't playing, and they still won. So.
And that was my free play that night too. So I've kind of been riding Toronto. They were my free play last or a couple nights ago. The Blue Jays too, but that's another story, another blog, another show, and the dichotomy between what Toronto's doing in that minor league park in Florida and what they're doing on the road is vastly different. Vastly.
What do you think happens with the Lakers?
I think that they make the playoffs and they play great defense. Can they score enough?
I don't see how they hit the switch. Steve Merrill and I were talking about that on a quick hitting show today.
Yeah.
It's hard, John, because do you use that same logic and apply it to Brooklyn as well? Brooklyn just can't hit a switch.
I do. I don't see how those three. I think the Lakers have an easier time of hitting the switch than Brooklyn does because Brooklyn really hasn't played with the three for any extended stretch.
There's two switches. That's the problem. There's three switches. One for both offense and defense, and there's an offensive switch and a defensive switch. And Brooklyn, their defensive switch is broken. Right. You can't even flip. They didn't even toggle. So
they got a big game tonight again. The second one with Milwaukee. I mean, Giannis 49 the other day, right? In the first one to get the win.
Yeah, wow. How many shots did he take that night? They shoot like 50 times from.
It's your butt, John. I tell you right now, you're not playing that grand piano. I could care less if you want to play.
You want to bet on it?
Yeah, you guys are asking for me. Here I am.
I'm telling you, do you want to bet on it?
The way you insulted Ski.
I heard
him every day.
Well, there you go.
I'm used to Tony, though.
Yeah,
I'm sitting with Ski right now.
I was born black child, so Ski feels sorry for me.
Get up and walk over to the piano, John. Bring your drink.
I can't. I really can't right now. But I just thought, Ski and I are pretty tight. I come over to his pad because he taught me all words for like.
I don't know how you're making legs invisible while you're standing behind Ski right now, but it's pretty.
No, I'm above him. You can tell by the picture, can't you? Well, I mean, not above him in terms of intelligence or anything, or up in the attitude. I'm above him on this picture.
And I can see you guys running in the living room and
Ski,
I'm on top. I'm always on top. That kind of thing, I don't know.
The Lakers are on top. You know why?
Ski, take some time, Ski. Fight for your Lakers. Tell these guys that they can flip a switch in the playoffs.
Yeah, Tony, your switch is broken. I don't know what you're talking about, buddy. Lakers.
I don't have a switch.
These are the repeat champions. Come on now.
I just go on tilts for a little while every couple hours and then back at it, baby.
No, but in all seriousness, like the Lakers started off, I think 21-6. They've had some injuries. They've had guys out of the lineup, but it's not like a team who hasn't played together. Like as soon as everybody's healthy and you see Anthony Davis, I don't think his problem right now is health. It was just confidence. And if he has confidence, he's going to play good on both ends. LeBron, he's going to come back. He's going to be good.
When you're making $100 million a year, you don't have a problem with confidence, do you?
Hey man, I'm telling you, when you're not seeing your shots go in and you haven't played for a long time, it's a little different when you go out there. $100 million, every shot I take goes in.
I'll tell you this: the drugs will be the best, and every shot will look like it went in.
I don't make $100 million, and but I broke my leg once upon a time, broke 2 bones, had nerve damage, and when I came back to try to play, it was not the same kind of deal for me when I came back. So I understand that kind of logic.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I played the same with broken legs as I did with my healthy legs. Badly.
Got all the answers, Tony Finney. Got all the answers.
Badly.
Let me challenge you guys one more time. I heard you guys talking about the Toronto game.
Uh-huh.
Earlier in the day.
You want to revisit that?
Yeah, earlier in the day, I was looking towards the Raptors side, just thinking like they've been pretty inconsistent all year, but it seems like they care and they still have a chance to make the play-in. They've been covering lately. The Clippers haven't been covering lately, but Clippers putting out there a pretty good lineup. And I don't know. Tell me what you guys think about this. Teams go to certain cities, and after the game, depending how it went, they may turn up afterwards. So let's say you go to LA or you go to Atlanta or you go to Miami, et cetera, et cetera. Do you put any stock into that?
Not this year, because the one thing I always complained about you guys was that we never knew. The NBA was always a tough tackle because it was so squirrely, and that was you didn't know whether Pac-Man was in Miami and everybody on the Raptors was hitting the strip joints with Pac-Man. You just never knew those things. Now they're not doing. They're in their hotel rooms. They're essentially quarantined. So, but you're right, Ski. There's always been a problem with me and the NBA. Unless you had a beat writer that was following the team and could get some of that information. Hey, what did those guys do last night? Did they go out to dinner and go back to the hotel? Or did they go out to dinner and never make it back to the hotel until daybreak? A lot of times in the past years, we would never, being just a weekend warrior, wouldn't have that information. Even us who had that information, you still sometimes didn't know what to do with it.
Well, I think, and in the point in case of the LA cities, when you're on the road and we're playing the Lakers and Clippers back to back, I think it was just assumed the nightlife was going to affect the team's second game. There's no question. And let's face it, this goes way back, guys. Denver, Utah road trips for an opponent. I mean, the Bulls would land in Denver, in Utah, and after the game, Dennis Rodman wouldn't have shit to do, and he'd fly to Las Vegas.
Yep.
And show up the next morning. So it's always been something to handicap. Road trips in these party cities, we've always had to consider, especially the LAs. But you're right, Tone. This year, when they can't do anything, they're not allowed to do anything. I don't know that they're not doing anything, but they're not allowed to. A lot of guys show up on health and safety protocols all of a sudden.
Well, I mean, last year in the bubble, we did have someone who actually went to the strip club outside the bubble and then claimed, "Oh, I just went to get food." Yeah, really? You went to a strip club to get food? Well, you're pretty easy to please.
Leave Lemon Pepper Lou alone.
Yeah. two Cleveland Indians, too, right? At Zach Plesac and another one of their pitchers last year. One they immediately traded, but they went to the strip club after the game. So, it's going to happen randomly now. But when things get back to normal, you put that right back in your handicap.
You do.
For sure. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
Guys are creatures of habit. Their job ends at 11 at night. Well, now what am I going to do? I'm wired. I got to go do something.
Because here's the deal. I don't begrudge them for that.
Absolutely.
I don't begrudge any player for
go gamble.
To do whatever they want to do. What I'd like them to say though, before they get on the court the next day, I'd like them to give me a ring and tell me. So I don't just call me. Shit.
That's
call
what
me.
Your beat writers are for, Tone. Your beat writers.
Listen. That has been a I didn't have a good football season. Didn't have a great basketball, and that is a big part of my handicapping is information, intel, and I've suffered from that, and I can't wait. I can't wait to have the opportunity to utilize that information because I've done a very poor job. I think I've done a very poor job of assessing situations and locker rooms, and here we are.
Everything's so much uncertainty with this COVID time, so it'll be over soon. Hopefully, I know Vegas. We got some casinos here going back to 100%. So hopefully,
yes, they are already. May 1st, they did. June 1st, we're going. No, there's no. Many of the smaller taverns. That's really been the issue. Was the neighborhood taverns that would get together and all of them know each other and nobody was ever careful. Casinos are the big casinos are still the issue, but there's no social distancing for the most part now. They took all the. My wife works for a big joint, one of the big ones here in Vegas, and they took all those partitions between the bar stools and such off.
Wow.
2 days ago, yeah. That's the one reason they were keeping open and still making some paper. is because they went in and spent all that money putting partitions up between each stool at the bar, and you felt like you were visiting somebody in jail. You know, you'd go sit down next to them, you'd say, and you'd be looking for the the little thing to lift up to talk to them because you couldn't hear them. I don't know anything about that, but I know I've seen it on TV.
Hey, right before I came on, or right when I did come on, I know you guys were talking about the Nets in Milwaukee. Did I break that up, or did you guys finish?
We never talked about it.
Oh, we didn't. We actually didn't hit that one.
No, we didn't.
We did talk about this one though. I think briefly, right?
Yeah. Yes.
The Charlotte -4 Detroit stay away
really
game, right?
We didn't talk about. We talked about us. Talked about our. We talked about much other than the Clippers in Toronto. We talked a little bit about Miami and Dallas. Remember? You hear that?
Yeah.
But for the most part, we haven't covered many games.
Over.
The audience is probably pissed. Probably saying, "Well, can you give us some free picks? Give us some winners." Quit talking about your strip clubs and girlfriends and boyfriends and stuff.
Yeah, my mind's still on that because I've never been to one more than twice in my life, and I guess social distancing between where you would have to stand, right? Because you can't be at the bar. That would be more than 6 feet to the pole.
Well, they didn't have 6 feet. As long as you had a partition, you'd be partition right there.
And that's an exhausting activity that would cause NBA players to play worse the next day. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, we're not worried about that. We're talking about the exhausting part of what the NBA players do is during their jobs, and then staying up all night and not getting enough sleep or rest or nutrition. Rather than gin, having a good chunk of protein instead of a bottle of gin. Those are the things I want to know because. And I want to know them because the guys I have sources, they know which ones can still perform on gin and which ones can't perform on gin. And there's that player too.
How does James Harden perform on gin?
James Harden likes. I can't say it because I would get in trouble with my beat writer buddy. I would get in big trouble, and I don't even know who James Harden is. Now did you hear that? James Harden, I don't think much. James Harden came in camp 100 pounds overweight this year and still was hitting some threes. So
you saw him get that instant liposuction as soon as he got to Brooklyn.
I thought it was a injection of Adderall for every day for about 2 weeks. I thought that's what it was. Maybe that helped, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe Hollywood Henderson and some of that nose spray to clear the sinuses.
Yeah, I tend to think
be able to breathe.
Always good.
Yeah.
Hey, I noticed I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, just off topic on the show that I do in the morning. But I never had a problem with this until lately. Like I eat cheese or something, and it's like I can't breathe. I don't know what it is. Like,
really?
Tony, you know the answer to that, don't you?
I don't know what that. My first thought is constipation. I thought you were going to tell us you were constipated when you eat too much cheese, But I don't know anything about any of that stuff because I eat everything and anything. Nothing prohibits me from. I'm not one of those. I mean, Indian food kind of gets to me because it's so damn hot that for the next couple of days I can hardly sit down. Sometimes, it's so damn hot. But
oh,
it's interesting, Tony. It really is.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Does that affect your betting performance?
It affects. Well, not much. I would never blame it, but maybe I'll use that excuse next time. Oh man,
how does Tony do when he had Indian food?
I had Indian food.
When I'm copying your picks, let me know.
I got a bunch of vegans in this household, vegans, and they love Indian food. Love it. And being the good guy I am, good dad, I just go along with it. I say, okay, let's go. Let's go.
With that much excitement in your voice, that's how you say it?
Do they have sake at this Indian restaurant? Dad, it's Japanese. Do they have sake? Because I'll go.
I started a new diet, you guys. I don't know if you know this. A family member coined it. It's called the Flex Vegan. And what a Flex Vegan is that you eat as well as you can, despite your schedule of the day or any other excuse you could have for eating potato chips or something. And then once a month, you're allowed a 28 28-ounce porterhouse steak at the Outback restaurant.
What?
Wow.
Just the Outback?
Vegan.
Can't be anywhere but the Outback.
If it's once a month, I don't know. I might need a Ruth Chris or something.
Well, you can. I mean, the flex it's everything in moderation. So you can have 2 of those big steaks.
I do everything in moderation, obsessively. I do.
Yeah, well, it's as long as it's balanced, Tony. We've talked about this. Very important.
Sounds like a therapy show. We've talked about this, Tony.
Yeah, instead of it's Dr. Tony.
Hey, I don't know what it means, but Joe always jokes and says, I don't even remember what the word was. As long as the something levels are right with Tony, the balance. I forgot what it was. It started with a T. I can't remember.
Testosterone. Teutonerone. Teutonerone. It's the Finnegan. It's the Finn. Whatever that math equation is too. The Teutonerone. What is it? The Finnegan. What's the math equation? 3.8. Come on, John.
3.14159265
Holy crap, that's pi. I don't want pi. I want the Finnegan.
No, you want that thing that adds up to 38%, John, that you and Merrill were talking about.
Oh, Fibonacci.
The
Fibonacci and Tony Testosterone. If those balancers are right, I'm perfect usually.
Were you on that show, Ski, when I was talking with Merrill about the Fibonacci numbers?
No, but it was funny.
It was
They're
not
pretty common in the marketplace. I learned them when I was on Wall Street, but they also occur in nature and also sports. Yeah. And 38.2% retracements are most commonplace. That's the term.
Fibonacci.
And I told Merrill today too that Merrill likes to say only he and I are allowed to say financial terms like catching a falling knife. Like first of all, I said off the air to Steve, like, why in the world would you say that? Nobody in their right mind would ever catch a falling knife. But I added a third one yesterday with Tony, and it was whipsaw. Now, whipsaw is where you you buy something and expectation is going to break out of a channel, and it does, but then it fails, and then you end up taking a loss because of that, and then you go the other way, thinking that it failed, and then that doesn't work, and you keep getting chopped up like chop suey in a channel.
Painful.
So in live betting, it's the same thing. So live betting last night, if you would have said, like I was 267.5, I think is the in-game level I had for that Washington Pacers shootout. So what happens in a whipsaw is that I would have done 267.5, and the game would have continued to go way above that, and I would have got emotional, and I would have said, well, I'll show you, Mr. Marketplace, and I would have done the under for more at 275, and then I would have done the under again at 282, and then again at 285, and what did it get me? It would have got me 6 losses. That's whipsaw.
Yeah. And then after all those losses, then he goes to the I don't know what they call them nowadays. I don't know what they used to call them. I don't know what they ever called them, but where they have the whips and chains and the girls make you feel better. That's called the whip room.
Oh God, what are we getting into here, Tony?
I'm just trying to keep things light. Because whipsaw,
I mean, I put my headsets down to go let my dog out. Ski was going to talk about Brooklyn, Milwaukee. I came back. There was pole dancing. There was Tony's drug levels. Are they right or wrong?
They're good. They're good right now.
I think they're off today.
Yeah, they're off a little bit. Right?
It's good.
Well, it's probably no better time than to go around the horn here and do our best bets, and then say goodnight till another episode of Manny's Pub can take place tomorrow at 4:15ish. So let's start with Tony Finn, and we'll go to Rob Vino, and then Ski, and then myself.
Well, I'll tell you what I did on Wager Talk. I have a free play, which is the Toronto Clippers games, and I recommend that. My argument is that the Clippers have a 6.5 game lead over the 5, 6, and 7 seeds. Even though they're relatively healthy, I suggest you take Toronto on the points. That's my free play on Wager Talk, and I'll throw in one. Let's throw in a prop. Listen. Texas is in Minnesota tonight playing baseball, Major League Baseball. Anybody? We never discuss it very much.
They have a team.
They do. Yeah. Kirby Puckett's no longer playing though. Just so you guys know. and I think they dropped all charges against him too. But let's move on forward.
Guy's not even alive anymore, Tone.
He's not.
He might be thinking of that the rock and roll singer that was named
Gary Puckett,
formerly known as Kirby Puckett.
Yeah. There. So, yeah, I saved you, Tony.
Thank you. And Minnesota, the Texas strikes out. Listen, it's a pedestrian pitcher. Jay Happ is going over 5.5 strikeouts against really the left-handed hitters for Texas are power hitters, and they have a propensity of striking out anyway. But it's a good situation, especially with the umpire that's there. And over 5.5 is a plus 122. At least it was before the show at a couple the FanDuels and those kind of sites that specialize in props. So over 5.5 strikeouts for Jay Happ, Minnesota Twins hosting the Texas Rangers. There's my 2 free plays. I will send out my bank account number after the win. You guys can donate some.
Very nice, Tony.
So, Rob Vino, you're up next here.
Yeah, I just to the person in the chat room who kept wanting to talk about Charlotte and Detroit. Personally, I have a play on that game that I released to clients, so I didn't talk about that on purpose. But Ski, you go behind me. If you got anything to say about Charlotte, Detroit, go ahead. Free play, John. I'll go to Major League Baseball, to one that I, win more than I lose, but I play it automatically every single time, and it's going to be the Miami Marlins with Sandy Alcantara. First 5 inning. I play him on the run line. I don't play the money line. I lay the half a run. Here I have to lay 15 cents with it. But today against Riley Smith, Arizona Diamondbacks team, it's a lineup that he should be able to control through 5 innings. Arizona's been very, very good, guys. I think they're number 1, as a matter of fact, in Major League Baseball, OPS-wise, against left-handed pitching. Not quite the same against right-handed.
They're always good. Yes, you're right. They're number 1.
They've exceeded,
OPS-wise.
Yeah, against lefties, right? Against righties, not the same, although the lineup has exceeded expectations somewhat. David Peralta's having a real good year. Pavin Smith has become a pretty good find. But I like Alcantara first 5. Keep the Miami bullpen out of it. Like I said, I mechanically play this particular play every time he is on the mound, and I'll do it again tonight. I think 15 cents is cheap, so give me Miami, first 5 inning run line, minus a half a run, minus 115.
Not bad. I like it.
I like that play a lot.
How about
he's a great starting pitcher.
Yeah, I like that.
Grand piano. He's got a free play that he's going to mortgage his grand piano on.
Nice.
No, I got to keep the piano. Everybody loves the piano.
Mm-hmm.
But
I wish it start playing itself. That's what I
do
wish.
too. I love the grand piano.
I like player pianos too. Grand piano, player.
Well, I know we had that comment on the Charlotte game. For me, a lot of guys out for Charlotte side. I don't like Bridges out. I look at Detroit. The guys that I really care about for them are out as well, like Jeremy Grant, Plumlee, Ellington, etc. So for me, I think at this point in the season, I want to avoid teams that maybe just want to get the rest of the season over with and play on teams that have a little something to play for at the end of the season. And the Charlotte Hornets are in the 8th spot. They need all of these games. So I think initially I wouldn't want to lay points with them, but they're 6-1 as a road favorite. So that's the way that I would look in that game. Really quick before I give out my best bet, I did see that Draymond was added to the injury report in that Golden State game. And that makes me maybe lean a little bit towards an under. But I want to share one more look because I gave this best bet out already on Wager Talk, the tip-off show. That's the only bet I've made today. I'm really close to this one here. I'm looking at the Nets. I think that it's a great matchup for them to bounce back after losing the previous game. And Milwaukee doesn't defend the perimeter well. I think Brooklyn will shoot it really well tonight. And I like for them to bounce back in this spot. But my best bet for today that I've already made is going to be Colin Sexton over 4.5 assists. You have his teammates talking about him, saying he's too ball dominant. People joking, saying that, he's not going to pass you the ball. And then Colin Sexton responding, saying that he hears all this stuff and it just kind of makes him play better. Like, I can give you the full quote. I'll read it here really quick. He says, they say I can't be a point guard. Now these next stretch of games, I'm going to go out there and show them I could do both, run the team and score the ball as well. I pretty much just take the criticism and run with it and just have them look crazy. So I like Colin Sexton over 4.5 assists tonight, especially with Garland out of the lineup.
That's
awesome.
I was just going to say that. I said it's great that he says that, and then Darius Garland hits the bench for this game, so he's gonna be the guy tonight. That's a solid play, and with the quotes and everything, that's fantastic.
And I like that play too. I mean, when Phoenix gets up by about 30, they'll quit playing defense on the perimeter, and he'll get 4.5 assists easy.
You know, to the credit of Cleveland, guys, Kevin Love had a quote 7-10 days ago where he said he loves the fact that these guys, after games, they take losses really, really hard. These young guys, they don't want to lose games. They're trying. As somebody mentioned, I don't know if I was on with you, Tony, or if I was on with you, Ski, but somebody had mentioned to me that the Cleveland Cavaliers were pressing in the fourth quarter of a game a few nights ago.
Yes.
And they asked me, do you think they'll press in the fourth quarter in this game? And I said, you know what? I don't see why not, because these guys are trying to win ball games. And Love is supposedly acting like a mentor, which I believe. I think Kevin Love's a good guy, probably trying to teach these guys the right way on and off the court. So for Cleveland, you know, it's not necessarily the same walkover that Orlando has become, with the exception of last night or a couple of other teams that have quit playing. These guys are still trying.
All right, listen, I'd be trying too.
Impressive.
If I had money on the game, I'd be out there trying my ass off and pressing too. You know,
That's a direct contrast to that word I hate called load management. You know, and I'll still say this till the day I die. I would love to see what kind of reaction a coach would have got if he said that to Michael Jordan. You're not playing tonight, son, because of your load management.
He would have said, I promise I used the little girl's room before I got here.
Does he have a writer for this stuff, or does he really come up with this all by himself? All right, so in honor of today's NBA show, this is one of my best bets. And we didn't talk about the Sacramento OKC game, but there should be quite a few points in this game. And you're going to bet over the total with a losing record road team. The road team's coming off 2 or more consecutive wins, which is good for a losing record team, by the way. The total is between 220 and 229.5. I group totals mathematically in that way. So 200 to 209.5, 210, 219.5, etc. So that combination's gone 62 and 32 over the last 5 NBA seasons for 66%. However, if the road team is favored, and think about it, we're talking about a losing record, crappy team, and by the way, they don't play defense. If they're favored, the over then is like an ATM going 19-6-1 for 77%. And then the side is 22-4, straight up, 20-6, again for 77% winners. So I'm not recommending a parlay, but I think you can bet the over and the Kings as 2 separate bets tonight. And the Kings are 43-17 over when the total has been between 220 and 229.5 in games played in the last 2 seasons. So that is one of them. And then the other one is the Boston Red Sox. So the Boston Red Sox, based on what we showed here earlier tonight, and we talked about Nick Pivetta kind of reinventing himself and becoming a much better starting pitcher. Boston really should take care of arguably the worst team in Major League Baseball, and probably one of the worst hitting teams we've seen in quite a while. But that all has to do with the launch angle. And if I start ranting about the launch angle, we'll never end this show. So with that said, that is my 2 for this show. We actually talked about machine learning, Ski. Real quick, Ski. What is that? That's the Milwaukee Brewers. 1,111 tweets that my app assesses based on the hashtag of the Milwaukee Brewers. and identify stop words. So 37% of these stop words were positive, negative, neutral. And this is the team that is playing Milwaukee, which is the Phillies. Notice that the pie slice is a little less negative than the positive, but the neutral is much bigger. Make a long story short, when you get done with the calculations, it's a play on Philadelphia Phillies. So that's my third pick for this game.
I have to
And
give.
there'll be a quiz on this tomorrow, and you're allowed to use the baby grand as a desk.
Yeah, I have to give Joe some credit for when you popped up the charts on him in the tip-off show. I think he handled it a lot better than I could have.
What, the whiteboard?
Yeah.
That was funny because I think my partners here, Tony and Rob, encouraged it.
Yeah, you
But that
definitely got
calculation
him
is
back.
actually the calculation for the p-value, and the p-value, which is
It all
now
has
called
to-
the
It all
JR
has to do with
value.
pissing beat writers off. If
Well,
you piss the beat
JR
writer off,
value
you're
is what
okay.
we call it now in the show. Measures how much parameters work together. Does passing work together with rushing? In the Super Bowl, the best working combination is passing yards divided by number of rushes.
Yeah.
It's that simple. So the team just needs to run the ball, run plays. They don't need to gain any yards necessarily. They just need to run plays. You guys, lastly, you have any promos going on over at Wager Talk that you want to mention? Well, I have a 60% off one single purchase thanks to Sports Memo people. 60% off of already discounted $19, so you get it for $7. And you know what I think of $7? That's the equivalent of a craft pint of beer. So if you can afford that, you can afford to treat yourself to one of my picks.
Free picks tomorrow.
You guys don't have anything big going on?
No,
Not
because
big.
I have to start consulting with Steve Merrill, who seems to have a special on every single pick he ever gave out in his entire Wager Talk career.
Running
I
out of
I
coupon
heard
code.
that little spiel yesterday, and I was in the backyard, and I was watching it archived, and I was actually laughing out loud that the neighbor actually looked at me and thought something was wrong.
That happens to me every day. I love that.
That was hysterical.
He breaks out these specials and wants to, in his joking way, include me as some kind of verification. And I don't get those specials. I got to talk to M1 and M2.
Yeah, you do.
Maybe those are reserved. Those are reserved for the machine only.
You better hurry up because we're running out of coupon codes to use because of Steve Merrill.
Steve Merrill. Yeah. S&M 500.
We're running out.
Steve Merrill coupon code. S&M 501.
Well, the one he had was that it was $9, but it was actually $4.50.
Right. That's
because he had two picks, one in the NBA and one in baseball. And that's what made me crack up.
He's funny. Made me want to sell one for $4.49. But no, the price is the same unless it's I don't know who the $2 Tuesday handicapper is. Who's the $2 Tuesday handicapper?
It's Ross. Ross.
It was Ross today.
Okay.
At Wager Talk, it would be whoever's up on the
I know McKinnis is one.
Front of the website.
Oh, all right.
Who is it?
McKinnis, Andrew.
Oh yes, that's true. It is him. I saw that. I saw that flash across my phone. Yeah.
So don't forget those $2 Tuesday.
$2
better than Steve Merrill special today.
Any capper you want. I mean, for $2, you can get sometimes you can get a 5%er. If you go to Steve Merrill's page.
Yeah. I think we'll have I'll put some graphics together. So next time Steve's on, we'll flash them up in the back here. Then Steve will look at them and say, "I don't remember that special." Well, Steve, you don't remember any of them. You have so many other damn things. So
funny. I'm telling you.
We need Toasty Sam's to monitor that.
Joining me again. What was that, Ski?
I said we need Toasty Sam's to monitor it. Yeah. I don't know. These guys know Rob and Tony.
He's a funny guy. I'll tell you what. He's loyal. He's loyal. Got us on the big screen every day.
Like a dog, loyal. I like loyal. Loyal is important.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean,
what happens here in the pub stays here in the pub.
Yeah, especially today, Tony. Jesus.
Don't let it get out.
Don't let it get out.
I'm sure glad this isn't being recorded.
Well, listen, viral. I've always said, any pub is a good pub.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, I'm glad you guys like stopping by. Manny's pretty cool.
yeah.
He's been away for a few days, so I think tomorrow we're going to get a bet.
It's a Russian pub to serve today's special borscht. Borscht vodka every day. Free vodka tomorrow.
Nobody can eat that crap.
Nobody comes with vodka?
I said, who the hell could eat borscht? Isn't that like that purple water that they think is soup?
Well, it depends. It's I ate a lot of borscht growing up.
That's a lot. I feel sorry for you, pal.
A lot of sauerkraut, a lot of borscht, a lot of sausage, a lot of vodka, and a lot of plum and dandelion wine, because that's whatever my grandpa could get out of the yard, he made wine out of it. And when you're young, hangovers aren't, but that stuff hurts nowadays thinking about drinking that.
Speaking for Ski and myself, neither one of us have eaten that, and neither one of us have eaten Scrapple. And on that note, thank you, Rob Vino, for joining us. Tony Finn.
Thank you for having me.
Myself, the Predictive Playbook, all the people at Wager Talk that take care of us, and Sports Memo, the same deal. May all the wins be yours.
He's got the tab. The guy down